We are, of course, familiar with margins in CSS, that being the space on the outside of the elements that we're controlling with our CSS. And, we get some interesting, odd behavior when we start monkeying with margins as they relate to our child flex items when we're using the justify content property. Let me demonstrate for you what the heck I'm talking about here. And you're more than welcome to tinker around with this either along with me during this exercise or maybe a little bit later on. It's entirely up to you, but there is some strange behavior that I want you to be aware of. So here's what I'm going to do. On my parent ID selector, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the flex flow property and I'm going to reset him back to his defaults of row no wrap, like so. And the justify content property, I'm going to reset him. I'm going to start off anyway, I should say, with space between, like so. Okay, and if I save my work and head back to the browser and refresh, we get this, which is exactly what I was expecting. Again, the first item is way over on the left, the last child item is way over on the right, and everything else is evenly spaced apart inside the parent element, like so. Okay, so no big deal here. But things get kind of wacky if I take my child elements and start throwing margin onto them. Now, to apply a margin onto all 9 of my child elements simultaneously, I'm going to go after the child class rule. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to simply go margin :space 20 pixels. So I'm throwing 20 pixels of space on all 4 sides of all 9 of my child flex items, if that makes sense. Okay? Now, check this out. I'm going to save my work and head back to the browser and refresh like so. And interestingly, what happens is we get some space above and below these guys, and I'm getting some space on the right and on the left of these guys, but I'm not getting space in between these guys. In other words, we're not getting, let's see, how do I phrase this? The equal amount of space between each child item that would be left over from the parent container, if that makes sense, plus 20 pixels on the right-hand side of number 8, for instance, and 20 pixels of space on the left-hand side of number 9, for instance. Okay? So margins appear above and below our child items, but they don't appear between the child items, except for the first guy and the last guy. Okay? So it's kind of wacky here. And the same holds true both for space between and space around. Let me show you space around here. So I'm headed back to my code here, and I'm going to go space -around. This is for justify content, of course. Save and refresh. And there's really no change here at all inside the browser when I'm refreshing. And I can prove that there's no extra space occurring between each of these guys if I go and remove the margin from the child elements, like this. Save, back to the browser. I'll drop my cursor right beside the right edge of item number 5 and refresh. And he doesn't collapse or expand or anything like that. He doesn't move around. The only thing that happened to him and all of his brother and sister child elements is their heights increased to touch the top and the bottom of the parent element. So what I'm driving at here is that margin left and margin right are ignored completely when either space around or space between are used. So again, you'll probably want to tinker with this a little bit on your own, and I say go for it.